and they're moving away from like publisher and all the kitschiness and the clip art. And they're like, okay, we want to like move into
They're not
like,
still using clip art. Okay.
I have seen it.
Say no more, fam. Say no more.
I have seen it. So all I'm saying is that
you've seen it, and the bad part is it's accepted.
Yes, absolutely. It is still accepted.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Private Club Radio Show podcast, the industry source for news, trends, updates, and conversations all in the world of private golf and country clubs. Whether you are a veteran of the industry or brand new, welcome. This is the show where we go over all topics related to private golf and country clubs, from governance, leadership, food and beverage, marketing, branding, design, the works. You name it, we're probably going to talk about it here. In this episode, I'm chatting with a friend of mine, Danielle Chavez, who is the founder of Club Design Studio, and she helps private clubs with their graphic design, email, social media, all that jazz. And that's what this is about today. So if you are currently in the process or you're starting to maybe redesign websites, landing pages, all that stuff, definitely listen to this episode. We got some good tips and tricks in here you definitely do not want to miss. Before we get to this episode, just want to do a quick shout out, quick thank you to all of you, the listeners. It means the world that you're here. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you like, share, subscribe. Any way you consume the content, whether it's YouTube, podcasts, Spotify, follow, share. Share the stuff that you're enjoying with other people who you think might also enjoy it. Follow so you stay up to date on all the stuff that we release. If you have not done so already, sign up for our newsletter. Head on over to privateclubradio.com/newsletter. I'll send you my top 3 episodes as well. We don't spam you to send out about an episode a week or send out an email a week to tell you about the episodes that we have released and coming out, as well as some other cool different things we don't always post online. Could be the first in the know. Thanks to our show partners, show sponsors. We have Golf Life Navigator, eHarmony meets Zillow, crazy wild platform connecting golf enthusiasts with their dream homes, their dream clubs, their dream communities. If you are interested in having your club on this platform so people can find you and advertising without advertising in a really cool way, head on over to Golf Life Navigators, reach out. Definitely a very cool platform, definitely worth checking out and making sure your club is on there, because the more people can, more places that people can find your club, the better. We have our friends, Kennis, member vetting. If you or your club is not doing very good fact-based member vetting, you're opening up the doors to having all sorts of floozies coming into your club. But no, Paul and the team, they're absolutely fantastic. And now is the time. There's so many wait lists. There's so many clubs. There's so many people wanting to get into clubs. We should be more selective. You should be doing very good fact-based member vetting. If you would like to learn more about member vetting or Paul, we have our episodes here on member vetting, or just head on over to membervetting.com and set up a call with Paul. Guaranteed it's going to be good. And he's a funny guy. I like him. We also have our friends, Concert Golf Partners, boutique owner-operators of private golf and country clubs nationwide. If you or your club is looking for some recapitalization, or if you don't want to have any more assessments for your members, or not even any of that, maybe you're just maybe your club is just done being member-owned and you're ready to have someone else take the reins, head on over to concertgolfpartners.com, set up a confidential phone call with Peter Nanula and see if you guys are a good fit. It's definitely worth it. As always, with all of our show partners, make sure you let them know you like the content here and that we sent you over here on Private Club Radio, and they're going to hook it up for you. And as always, one last shameless plug for myself. If you or your club is looking for one of the most fun member event nights, DennyCorby.com. I have the Denny Corby experience, magic, mind reading, comedy, crowd work. It is such a good time. And I am a little bit biased, but worked with hundreds of clubs all over the country. So reach out. Let's have a chat. DennyCorby.com. But let's get to the episode. Private Club Radio listeners, please welcome Danielle Chavez. You have the unique position to work with so many clubs and just in like the design space. all clubs are different. Everyone's style is different as well for
Right.
clubs and everything. But I just thought like, hey, what's maybe what's so what's working? What are the trends? Hey, what's sort of on like downwards? Hey, this is sort of kind of becoming more popular. Then maybe thought we can wrap it up with what's a good tech stack that things and apps or tools every club should be utilizing and using.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So Danielle, what is on the upward trends?
Upward. I know, right? So in terms of trends in design in the design world in clubs, I will say it is going to be minimalism. I think that when we take a look at clubs and we look at the high end luxury clubs, you see a lot of the design geared towards like cutting out all the extras, just making it very polished, very elevated, and then very to the point. And that is in terms of the design and the language itself. Like great copy speaks for itself, and it always has. But in terms of the design, you couple that with a great layout that's just very minimal and very like luxurious feeling, and you kind of attract a certain a certain type of person who's who might be interested in something like that and certain type of membership. But I see it across the board, even in the more traditional clubs, and that is, I think, when we get inquiries from clubs, that's the very first thing is how do we elevate our marketing. And they're moving away from like publisher and all the kitschiness and the clip art, and they're like, okay, we want to like move into.
They're not
like,
still using clip art. Okay.
I have seen it.
Say no more, fam. Say no more.
I have seen it. I have seen it. So all I'm saying is that
you've seen it, and the bad part is it's accepted.
Yes, absolutely. It is still accepted. And I see it in multiple places, not only in like magazines, but, in like emails and things like that. So it happens. It happens. Yeah. And I think it depends, where your club is. If you're more remote, maybe your talent pool is a little bit different as well. And I think traditionally it has been accepted. But the look and feel of clubs, like I said, is moving more towards like, very minimal, very sophisticated. And so when clubs reach out to us, that's really what we hear from them is like, how do we elevate our marketing? How do we engage our members? How do we take our marketing to the next level where we can move away from, 1990 publisher and move into, kind of like the new era and utilize all these new great tools that's available to us.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So how, when looking at a design, what is too minimal? Like, so for you, in your opinion, what is that line? No pun intended. But like, what's that line for like, okay, like how do you know if it's too minimal or too much? Like how do you find that balance?
I don't know if I've ever been asked that question, because I think when it comes to design, it could be very minimal and still come off. I mean, we're not talking just like, a word on a page, that would be too minimal. But it's certainly, if it's just an image with maybe some words over it or something like that, it could still be very minimal by nature, but come off very elegant. So I think it's really an interesting, you have to play with the design a little bit to be able to make it minimal. I will say that coming from a design standpoint, bless you. You're welcome. I will say sometimes coming into a design and like trying to make it minimal, we tend to overthink things as designers. So we put too much on the page and then we have to take away. So that minimal design is actually harder to achieve than just filling the space. And utilizing the white space is harder to achieve than just kind of, filling it with like, a newsletter type of look where there's like blocks and there's text and things like that. So, and then also taking the content and making it more concise, that can always be a challenge as well. So maybe you can't have anything that's like too minimal, but it needs to be done in such a way where it looks appealing. But I've certainly, like I said, I've certainly seen things where it's just like images and maybe like a letter or a couple of letters or like a word in there, and it still comes off really nice and polished.
So if I'm looking at my site, XYZ Club, is there like a little audit that I can do that, if I can go like, so if I were to go look at my site, what can I look for, or what are some things that I can see like, oh, if I have X, Y, and Z, I should maybe think about changing this or upgrading or like reevaluating? Like what are just some like little like tips there?
Sure. Yeah. Sometimes we work on sites and we certainly help with mocking up sites. That's where, we kind of come in. And what I would say you always want to look for is, where does your eye go as the reader, as a prospective member, or even a member at your site? But mostly it's just going to be prospectives who are going to be perusing your site. So what stands out to you, right? What are the photos? Obviously the photography is a huge part of that. You want all of your photos to reflect your club, and your lifestyle accurately, and really look appealing. But in terms of the text and the layout, highlight the main things of your club. If you've never done like a SWOT analysis, or if you've never really, sat down and made a bullet points of what does your club bring to the table? How are you different? And then, do that first, and then make sure when you look at the landing page of your site, each of those bullet points are clearly outlined. So it should be right up at the top. Here's what we stand for. And then boom, boom, boom. This is what we're known for. And then some type of information or call to action of, this is how you can contact us for more information. Or if it's by invitation only, make that known as well. But yeah, that's kind of what I would suggest for a website, is just make sure that, you are, whatever your design is, make sure that all of your bullet points of what your club is known for stands out and is easily like legible. You shouldn't have to have a prospective member navigate away from your landing page at all to understand what your club is about or what you offer.
And if anybody's wondering what that means, just go on Google, type in anything, click on the first ad, and just look at that page.
Yep.
Which is just it's just a fun exercise just in general to, just to look at what, like how somebody else does it, even like a completely different industry. But like, you will notice like once you see it once or know it, once you go to a landing page, there's nothing, a good landing page, you can't do anything else.
Absolutely. A landing page. That is the idea of the landing page, is everything that you need to know should be right there in one page. And it's okay if you scroll a little bit, but everything that you really need to know should be at the top, and maybe something, that's kind of lesser a value, you put it at the bottom. But you shouldn't have to navigate away from your landing page to know the XYZ, like, part of your business, of your company, of your club, basically. That's it.
Because our attention spans are like squirrels.
Oh,
And
like a goldfish. A goldfish.
I know mine's horrible. Yeah, and I know if there's anything else on that page, or like if I get distracted so easy. So when there's a landing page that has other things that'll take me away, I will get taken away. Trust me.
Absolutely. That's what happens with, these days we can just, we just doom scroll, and then we just, TikTok and Instagram. And I mean, they're catchy videos, but really, I think we have like 7 seconds. 7 seconds is like the lifespan of a reel to catch your attention. Anything longer than that, you're like, oh, I'm done. Or you're fast forwarding.
Oh, I know. And then, when you start like looking at analytics and stuff, you're like, oh, that's not me. Then you start looking at your own stuff. You're like, SOB. All right.
Oh yeah. It's like, you're like, okay, everything after that, anything that's important, put it in the first 7 seconds. And then after that, then, hopefully they'll see it.
The master of analytics and data, Mr. Beast. His team is
Mr. Beast. Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know Mr. Beast, oh my goodness.
Oh, I know Mr. Beast. I have a 10-year-old son.
Oh, I was talking. I figured you did. This was for like listeners out there. If you don't know Mr. Beast, dude's making. I don't even. It's wild, but he's and analytics galore.
Absolutely.
Galore. Speaking of analytics and data and tech, I love software. I love tech. I love tech stacks. From a design standpoint, what are some apps, I don't want to say devices, if you're some devices, no, apps, or, what are some platforms that clubs should be using or being aware of, or, have on their radar to be possibly using that can help them in their design stuff?
Sure, absolutely. I think I'm going to go with the one that's most obvious in terms of the design world in clubs right now. And that's going to be Canva, because Canva pretty much revolutionized the way that our teams work together. It revolutionized club design, and the accessibility that you have to design as a club professional. And what I mean by that is, not only, you don't have to hire a graphic designer any longer if you're, to create something as simple as, maybe like your one-off private, private event menu or something like that. I think that, even when it comes to collateral or brochures, Canva can be utilized. And honestly, 99% of our clubs, when they come to us and they ask for a design, they're like, can you do it in Canva? Of course we can. Of course we can do it in Canva, because you and your team can easily change it if you need to, make updates to it, change colors, add new photos, and it isn't as cumbersome or complicated as, traditional design software like InDesign, Photoshop, or Adobe Illustrator. Now, that's not to knock the Adobe products, because I was trained on all of those and classically trained, and they still have a special place in my heart.
Humble brag.
You can't get away from the expertise and the excellence of InDesign, Photoshop, or Illustrator. So, but I will say that after a few years of utilizing Canva, I mean, my eyes are open. I love using it. Even in terms of, creating digital assets for social media or LinkedIn, you can easily and quickly do those things. And then they have like introduced animations now. So you can, create your own animation paths and things like that. And those are things that you would have had to do or would take you hours in Photoshop. And you can do it in seconds in Canva. So I don't know. Hopefully Canva now they can like sponsor me now that I've talked so highly of them. But definitely I will say Canva is first and foremost. If your club is not using it yet, I would recommend that you kind of dive into it. And it's totally worth it too. The expense is pretty small compared to the power that it packs.
$9 a month, $10 a month, and you get a couple people. Like it's silly. It's silly.
Absolutely. But that is also why they've kind of revolutionized the space. So it's the accessibility is just wonderful. In other areas, other technology, I have stumbled across. Everybody loves ChatGPT, and I actually really like ChatGPT too. But I have decided to use AnyWord. So AnyWord is another AI software, and then it does so many things for you in terms of creating like prompts, creating email subjects. It gives you analytics behind your Instagram captions, LinkedIn, and then you can also customize the audience as well. So you can really, kind of hone in for each club. And this is what we do. We have different spaces for each club and hone in on what the demographic looks like. So the average age, if you're making an email for a certain segment, you can identify, okay, am I doing it for female? Am I doing it for male? Is it for a golfer, a country club audience, whatever it is. And then you can, you can definitely modify your criteria. So for that reason, for me, AnyWord, I would say it's a little bit expensive, but AnyWord has been like a godsend a little bit for us, especially when we have to, when we're creating content. And obviously clubs, they get pretty bogged down with everything. So they're like, hey, can you please just come up with this language yourself? And we're like, yeah, sure. And, we kind of come up with it, and then we use AnyWord to help refine it. So it's been wonderful. So I would definitely, do that. Another one that we use is Grammarly, and we don't send anything out without running it through Grammarly. And so after we take it from AnyWord, put it in Grammarly, we double check it, make sure all the punctuation is great, all the grammar is right. And I think that is really helpful for the club world as well, because the amount and the volume of communications that you're going to send out. I mean, I have witnessed in the past, send something out and there's an apostrophe S when it was just supposed to be S. And it was something that could have been caught if you would have just run it through like a spell check or some type of software. But Grammarly is pretty sophisticated. So I would also use that as well. One other thing that I would suggest using, and this is really for like the team hub, is Slack. Now, I tried to implement this at one of my clubs. And I use it now with my own team and with some of my clubs as well. They participate in Slack because they're like, okay, yes, it's the easiest and fastest way to communicate, which is great. But most clubs don't. But the one time I did try to use it at my club, it didn't really take off. I will say that it took off with the internal team, with maybe the ones that are involved in communications. But if there was a way that your club could get on a platform like Slack, I mean, you can incorporate so many things, right? You can, you can communicate, you can share files, you can link it to your project management software. I know clubs have started to kind of use club management software like Monday or ClickUp, for their team and their operations. So you can integrate all of that in there, and it's just like an easy way to kind of chit chat and then find easy answers instead of trying to figure out, okay, where's the GM at this point during the day? Oh, he's on the course. Okay, I'm gonna have to walk out there and find him. No, you can just send him a Slack message. So I will say that in terms of technology for communications is very helpful. And then I mentioned it a little bit, but project management software like Monday.com is an excellent tool. We utilize ClickUp. Great tool. And then for all your tasks, you can go in and, in any department in terms of operations, you can go in and put in your task and have your assignments, and then, make any notes and, really kind of like keep track of the whole process. For us in communications, it would be like, version 1, version 2, and then final drafts, things like that. But I mean, I see clubs starting to kind of move over to using project management tools.
Like what were they using prior?
Nothing.
In your experience?
Pen and paper. Weekly meetings.
Maybe a spreadsheet.
Possibly. But it's hard. I will say that, working in the club industry, I think we are all very well intentioned, but as professionals, we are expected to wear so many different hats. So you walk into the club one day and I think that you feel like your schedule is going to be one way, and then you get pulled in 12 different directions, and you kind of just have to roll with it. So that is maybe why traditionally like spreadsheets don't really work, and then maybe face-to-face communication does. But something like a Slack or incorporating our project management tool could be great, because then your team members can go in and then do what they need to do on their own time when they have time.
Why'd you pick ClickUp compared to like a Monday, Asana, Trello, something like that?
Trello's a great one too. We picked ClickUp because we needed a more robust system that tracked our hours. We needed our ability to integrate into other platforms like, Google Drive, like Slack. And then also one of their biggest features is they have like a guest feature. So, our clubs that we work with, they are able to have a guest login where they can see all of our dashboards, and they don't charge you extra for that. So that was one of the biggest reasons.
That's cool.
Yeah. 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 It was nice actually feature. Really cool. Yeah. And then also the time tracking as well, because, we have our team and so we need to just make sure that we're tracking all of our time accurately, and the reporting is actually really good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being on. Appreciate it. Where's the best place people can find you?
Clubdesignstudio.com, and then LinkedIn, really. You can find me on LinkedIn. My personal handle is, Danielle Chavez, and you can find me. I put a lot of like little tidbits on there, and then we post some stuff from Club Design Studio too. Nice. Thanks. All right. Thank you so much. Hope you all enjoyed that episode. If you're interested in learning more, head on over to Club Design Studios. If you're interested in learning more about Danielle, head on over to clubdesignstudio.com. If you're enjoying the content, like, share, subscribe, follow. Anything you can do to help move the channel forward means the absolute world. If you're not signed up for the newsletter, head on over to privateclubradio.com/newsletter. We send out about an email a week, no spam, and also send you my top 3 episodes. So go sign up. That's this episode. Until next time, catch you on the flippity flip.